Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us today. We have Jeanette Stewart, founder of Translation Commons, and some of their community managers, Zichi Zhou and Cheng Song, and Gabriela Laszlo, who is on,
No. Yes.
Gabriela Laszlo, who is at, what is your title?
She is an advisor in the advisory board, and she is also our G Suite super admin, and she'll tell us a few things about herself later on.
Very cool. So we're very excited to hear all about Translation Commons and what it's doing for the localization industry, translation and localization industry. Thank you, Jeanette.
Well, hi guys, thanks so much for coming. We're going to talk about Translation Commons in general, and we have a few presenters here with us. We have myself, as Max introduced me, Gabriela, and also introduced by Max, and we also have Zichi Zhu and Cheng Song, who are MIIS students, and they have been working with us for the last year, basically. So we're going to do this fairly easy. You know a little bit about me. Most of you know that I've been in the industry for a while. I've been on the client side, I've been on the vendor side. I had my own company, so I've done a little bit of entrepreneur work, and also now with a nonprofit. So I got a range of experience. I'm also writing for a multilingual magazine, and I'm also involved with Blog World. I curate their community track. So I know a lot of people in this industry, and I talk with a lot of people about what we need and what will prepare our industry to the next stage. So a few words about Translation Commons. Basically, our vision is that we want to be an online community offering an independent platform for sharing linguistic knowledge freely, so that together we can create a world without communication barriers where no language and no linguist are left behind. So our pillars are community service, equality, trust, and professional enrichment. So Translation Commons didn't happen in a vacuum. In 2014, a few of us started speaking in various networking events between Blog World, House, and IMAC. A lot of conversations about why don't we have a community? Why don't we do things together? And that propelled me to write a LinkedIn post, which I wrote in September 24th, I believe. And it had an immense response from people on LinkedIn. So I was asking the question, can we actually create a collaborative commons environment for the language industry and have our industry survive and prosper? So there was a lot of response from that, and we were very optimistic. So we said, okay, let's do a little bit of a feasibility study here. And the feasibility study we decided to do is, let's start a LinkedIn group and see what response we have. So we started the LinkedIn group in December, just before Christmas, and we said, okay, we'll just wait and see how it goes after Christmas. Well, January 1st, we had 1,000 members. In 25 days, we had 1,000 members. So we kind of felt that, you know, as feasibility studies goes, this is a pretty good indication that our industry is ready for something. So moving on in 2015, we decided that we have to be a nonprofit. Therefore, we started off by making an application for a nonprofit status. That was done along the time that we were waiting and being very active on LinkedIn. And one of the organic projects that came out of LinkedIn was the mentoring group. And there was a post, a simple post about mentoring for language professionals, but mostly for translators and interpreters, for freelancers. And although there are programs that are out there, and very good programs, there aren't necessarily any guidelines or any instructions and education for a freelance to take under their wing another freelance, which is how mentoring is done organically. So this post created quite a lot of activity, and we created a second group for mentoring, and that had about 100 people interested. from these 100 people, they started working together. So the decision was made, let's do a survey and let's see what really people think about mentoring in the freelance world. And when the survey was finished, something like 4 to 6 months later, we created a document with the analysis of the survey, which we published. And then we created the conclusions from the survey, which again we published. And based on those conclusions, it was obvious to everyone that what is missing is some guidelines. So the group got together, did a lot of research, and 20 from the group decided, okay, we're going to write this. And they each took bits and pieces from this, and now we have a 65-page document for mentoring guidelines. And just in the next couple of days, we're going actually to publish the second iteration, which has updated information, and it has an appendix with checklists as well. So the group has been working quite a lot on this one. So the nonprofit status was approved in October of the same year, and at that time I had a phone call from the IRS, and when I explained to her what we wanted to do, she said, you're a public charity then, because you're going to be working directly with individuals, whether it's students, whether it's freelancers, whatever it is, you're a public charity. And we were very nicely surprised because, the public charity is a status above a mere nonprofit. So we were very happy about that. So in 2016, moving forward, we realized, okay, we've got a lot of activity going on. We've got our nonprofit status. What do we do now? And how do we crystallize all these ideas to create some sort of a platform that we can have an online space? So we created the advisory board, and people started working immediately. So a lot of the things you see on our website are the creativity of the first advisory group. So the first thing is, how do we organize the entire language industry in such a way that it's concise and it has, distinct, categories. And Jean Rabot, who's an engineer right now at Pinterest, came up with Translate, Share, Learn, and within these 3 categories, we can have absolutely anything we need. And true enough, even today, 2 years later, or 3 years later, we still have everything we need within these 3 categories. And of course, we had the design done at the time, we had the logo done, we had the color scheme, which we were playing between the blue and that aubergine kind of eggplant color. Then sometime later, a few months later, we were approached by one of our advisors was involved in the Ecolo project, and she got together a couple of the initial professors in Europe that worked for that, and they asked us, can we revive the Ecolo project and host it on the Translation Commons website? Now, the Ecolo project started in 2004 in Europe with money from the Leonardo da Vinci grant, and it was a consortium of 15 European universities, which all had masters in translation degrees, whether bachelor or masters. And what they were trying to do is create unified information and data and training kits for the professors to teach students the technology of the translation and interpretive industry. And that material was available in the 15 languages of the universities that were there, but it came offline sometime around 2009. But it was also very popular with freelancers, so they wanted to revive it. And we started a committee back in May 2016 with some of the original professors, trying to get more people in and putting everything, changing it from a format of type of 3 into a wiki right now. And since then, most of the training kits have moved under the Learn for. So we're still in progress, and we still are updating the material because, as you can understand, some material were from 2005 and 6. So today, a lot of things have changed. So we needed to update all the screenshots and everything. Also, we started the website in August. And we did our first community track curating at Blog World. In moving forward in 2017, we had we had a few think tanks, and one of the first ones we had after mentoring was the technology think tank. And we tried to gather all the people and the community managers of all the open source tools that are available in the industry. And one of the things that organically came out of this technology think tank was the interoperability project. As interoperability is one of the biggest problems we have between various tools. And we had Alan Melby's Limport project, which we wanted to incorporate and start working towards creating it as a standard. And right now we're still working on it. For example, tomorrow the team is meeting, in their monthly meetings. And they're also working with Tapik of Gala, who are creating the API standard for interoperability. And ours is slightly different, but incorporated within the same. So we managed to publish in 2017 the mentoring guidelines, and then the interpreting group came together and said, okay, we'll create a think tank. Again, they had a lot of activity on post and Translation Commons, so they went out again, created their own group. That group has over 600 people today. And one of the things that was prevalent in all the conversation was the technology. So they went ahead and they created a survey on the technology attitudes of translators. They created an analysis and conclusions. It's all published under the Translation Commons Interpreting Think Tank. And finally, as we were working through the creation of the Translation Commons website, we felt that we needed to have some real students, check everything. Are we doing the right things? Is it working? So we asked the University of Texas and the University of Leeds to check out 2 of the modules. So if you remember, we have the Translate, Share, Learn. We'll have a demo later. But the Translate has many tools. So the University of Texas, with its students, got together and tested all the tools that they're working. And the University of Leeds tested the Learn and the Learning Center, that when a professor creates a course in a class, that the students can, attend it and so on and so forth. So that was all successful. And then we continued our relationship with Blog World, where they donate a booth. We curate for the community track. So we had a lot of visibility. We had some announcements in front of the whole audience. So people started to understand, a little bit better what Translation Commons objectives were. And at that point, we also started trying to get more partnerships. We started with Gala and Tapik. Now we have some other partnerships, not just Blog World, but Panelix and a couple of others. So the mentoring think tank, I've already told you briefly. It was 92 members, 20 writers. There were about 600 participants for the survey, and all the documents are online, and we have 2 iterations of the mentoring guidelines. The interpreting think tank, 650 members. They're researching technology and doing a survey. The ECOL I mentioned, it's the university programs, community outreach, and student involvement now, because we want to make sure that this is continued and continuously updated and translated. And here we are in 2018, where we started having a lot of feedback from members, both from the LinkedIn groups, but also now people that were coming to the website, which was live for almost a year. And one of the things that was prominent at the time is how to create these groups, because there's a lot of people with a lot of ideas that want to create a group, and the Translation Commons platform gathers a lot of volunteers that are individuals. So it made sense for us to create an environment where people with idea can come and create a group, showcase it, and then other people can come around and see, oh, I'd like to work on that. That is a worthwhile cause, or I have an affinity and a passion for this cause. I want to work on this group. And that's what we've been working most of the year for the member-generated groups. And we have 2 or 3 groups that have become extremely prominent this year. The one is the professors group, where we have professors and lecturers and teaching assistants and PhD candidates, and that those people in our industry who teach students and train, because it could be private trainers as well. And this group is so active, and it's so clear about what they want to do. So they have created their own website that you can check things out, their objectives, their mission, and their big issues is that they want to share knowledge, and that knowledge can be done either as webinars. So we're creating a framework for them that one professor from one university globally can do a webinar, and this can be seen by other students in other universities. And at the same time, we have a lot of people who already have webinars or video tutorials, and they can share all that information. So for example, when we have people with universities with master's programs, and there are language students in, let's say, Bulgaria, and they don't have a Cut Tools course. If there are Cut Tools webinars from professors from universities that teach Cut Tools, then those webinars will be very useful, both for the professors, but also for the students in these universities. So the idea of that sharing the webinars and the knowledge goes a step further with exchange programs and so on and so forth. So, the sky's the limit, basically. And the second aspect that this group wants to do, the professors group, is to build very strong relationships with industry. And as we know, all universities have one or two people that have these relationships. They invite them to come and give speeches and so on and so forth. They try to have like you have the fair here. A lot of universities have that, but how to build those relationships in such a way that this information can be shared a little bit wider, and also those relationships that perhaps with a conglomerate, a multinational company, let's say the Irish university has a relationship with Google Ireland, but then the rest of the countries don't have a relationship with Google in those locales. So why not create the strength of that relationship to become more global? And these are part of the aims. The certifications group is, again, a very big and novel idea, which is coming from Jos Setze, who is a very prominent person in our industry. A lot of associations give certifications, and a lot of these associations, you can see all the people who are members and also what certifications they have, but there is no association or database that you can actually search people that are only certified. And the idea would be that people who have a degree, like yourselves when you graduate, and people who have kept up with the certifications and continuous educations, or have expanded and explored different areas and got certifications in these areas, they should be able to showcase that. So we're trying to create a database. First of all, again, two aspects. First of all, we want to research what are the certifications globally, because what we consider today to be a good certification for the US and may not be of the same standard in other countries. So what are those differences? And then once we understand the global landscape of certifications, then we would like to create a database where we can have all those certified bodies involved in this database and ensuring that people who come on board this database are all certified. The third thing that happened this year is that the Endangered Languages project, which is an initiative outside Translation Commons, realized the benefit of using the Translation Commons website and platform to coordinate their volunteers for translation and using our tools, our free tools. So other nonprofits now are able to come on the platform, create a group, and have their volunteers work on the platform. And all of this activity had made us think that we need community managers, not just to be able to develop, create, and respond to the needs of the actual website and platform, but also the groups. And finally, we had the need of organizing our volunteers. we started having requests for volunteer work, but we didn't have an organized way of saying, okay, you can do this, or you can do this, or here's a list of the things you can do, you choose what you want to do and let us know. So at that point, we was with Zichi and Chang that we got together and we started working together as a program to create this volunteer framework that they will talk to us in a little bit. And also we wanted to broaden the horizons of the organization, and we realized that at the moment we're all very organically growing and we're responding to needs. So we need to take a moment here, step back, and start looking at this more strategically. So by creating a board of directors, we are now looking at things from a strategy point of view, not just for the organization, but for the industry. So at the moment we have in the board of directors, myself and my husband, Alan Stewart, that we started it, we're co-founders. And we also have Cornelia Sittel from Salesforce, and we have Dave Ruan from Explanation, and we have Sabina Jasinska from SDL. It's all people who have the same understanding of what community should be. They have many years of experience, and they also are extremely experienced in their own professions that they can create a strategy for the organization. And finally, SDL has donated their marketing, a couple of their marketing people to create a marketing team and move us forward on that front. So I'd like to introduce to you Gabriela Laszlo.
Hi, everybody.
There she is. Let me just get you on the screen. Let me just find the screen. Gabby, just wait for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Escape. There she is. Okay, you're on the screen, Gabby.
Hi, everybody. So I will be talking about the Translation Commons website and all the ways that you can interact with it. So can I have the next slide? Thank you. So my name is Gabriela Laszlo. I am part of the advisory board in Translation Commons, and I'm also the G Suite super administrator. Part of our infrastructure runs on Google's G Suite, and that's what I'm responsible for. Click, please. So my background is in localization. I worked for over 10 years for Google, in most of that time in localization. I was a language specialist for Hungarian, Turkish, and Italian. Then I moved into a PM role. And later I was responsible for training globally. And when I transitioned over to the operations side of localization, that's when I got acquainted with G Suite. And I sort of fell in love with it. So now I do cloud consulting with a focus on G Suite. Next slide, please. Thank you. So Translation Commons, for me, is this perfect intersection of my expertise and my passions. A perfect intersection of localization, tech, and training. Next slide. In this section, I want to show you a demo of the things that Translation Commons can do and how you can interact with it and how you can become part of it.
Do we start?
Yes.
Here is the homepage of Translation Commons. Here you can learn more about who we are, how you can get involved, and you can look at our roadmap. You can see the universities who have joined Translation Commons, and you can learn more about our team and history in this section. When you register and log in, you can get access to tools, collaborate with other TC members, and grow. After you have logged in and activated the Google tools, you're ready to access content in the Translate, Share, and Learn sections. In the Translate section, under Tools, you get access to tools to be able to stay at the cutting edge of technology. You get CAT tools, subtitling tools, website translation tools, machine translation tools, and post-editing tools. I want to show you a couple of them. The first tool that I would like to show you is the subtitling tool, Amara. It's a very straightforward tool. I have already loaded a video in here, so let's take a look. I'm accessing the video. On the left-hand side here, you can see that you can subtitle in the original language, and you can also choose to add new languages to subtitle in foreign languages. I'm going to access the original language. You can see my work here, and we're added some subtitles. Some of them are synced with the video, and some of them have not yet been synced. I now go ahead and access the editing interface. There's a help overlay. It tells you that these are the controls for the video. You can play and pause the video, skip back. In the middle section is where you type your subtitles, what you hear, and when you're done typing, you can go ahead and sync your subtitles. When you click away anywhere on this page, this goes away and you're ready to subtitle. I'm going to play the video to show you how the subtitles are synced with the video.
Hello everyone, thank you for inviting us. Before we begin, I'd like to ask you a simple question. Can you imagine a world where individual linguists, students, freelancers from every point?
And that's where my syncing stops. I haven't yet synced the other parts. You can also see that I get little warnings here when I run out of the character limit for a line. When I'm done working, I can save my draft and exit. The tool gives me access to download the subtitles in a number of different formats. Now let's take a look at a machine translation tool, Apertium. Apertium is a rule-based machine translation platform. Initially, it was aimed at related language pairs, but they're also starting to tackle more divergent languages. You can translate text, documents. You also have the ability to use TM, and you have the ability to translate a website. This is what I wanted to show you today. We are going to be translating from English to Spanish, and you have the option to mark up unknown words or not. When you hit the translate button, this is when the magic happens. And you can see that our Translation Commons homepage is now machine translated into Spanish. In the Translate section, we have instructions for the tools that we offer as well. In the Share section, you can see our working groups. These are the initiatives that our members have taken. You can join them or you can create your own working group. One thing to note is that working groups also get access to Google tools that allow them to take minutes, create a website for internal use so they can organize their content. And they also have an external site, so if they want to communicate information to the outside world, they have the ability to do that as well. Let me show you one of the working groups that we have. This is the Professors and Lecturers group. This is their external website. This is how they communicate with the world about what they do. within Translation Commons.
This is the Google group they use for communications.
And this is their internal website where they can keep their documents, or they also have the external site linked from here. The third pillar of Translation Commons is the Learn section. Here you have a learning center, a resources hub, and the Ecolo project. Let's look at the Learning Center first. In the Learning Center, among other things, you will find courses about localization that you can access. The courses are hosted in Google Classroom. You can see that the course content is fully inside Google Classroom. The Resources Hub of the Learn section is a place where you can find useful tools and resources related to localization as well as business tools. The Ecolo project, which stands for Electronic Content Localization, is a set of shareable resources for translation training, all available to you from Translation Commons. Now that you have a better idea about Translation Commons, we invite you to join us, check out our website, join our working groups, and use the tools that are available to you under Translation Commons.
All right, so now that you have a picture of what all the things that you can do with Translation Commons, what the initiatives are, how we're structured, I wanted to give you a little bit of a glimpse of the architecture under Translation Commons. So our website runs on WordPress, but it's also directly connected with Google's G Suite, our Google G Suite instance. And we run some of the sections on WordPress, some of them on G Suite. So for example, part of the share section is on WordPress, the resources hub is on WordPress, but another part of share is on G Suite as well as the Learning Center. And in addition, from the translate section in WordPress, we are linked to our servers. And that is where our tools reside. So the translation tools that I showed you, that's where they are. Then on the Google side of tools, the working groups, the initiatives, they all live in G Suite. All the tools of G Suite are available to working groups, but they very heavily rely on specifically Classic and new Google sites and Drive. And of course, email for communication. The Learn section in the Ecolo world, we're hosting courses in Classroom. Next slide, please. So I'm not going to walk you through all of this, but after you have had kind of a bird's eye view, this is the nitty-gritty that is needed to run Translation Commons every single day. So I wanted to give you just a glimpse of the real things going on under the hood. Next slide. So thanks very much. And I'm going to give the floor to Cheng and Zichi, who are going to be talking about their own projects.
So hi everyone, I'm Cheng and this is Zichi. We are both second year translation and localization management students here at MIIS. And also we are both community managers at Translation Commons. So I'd like to share my story about joining TC first. So I was in the first year and I was looking for volunteer opportunities. And then I Googled translation and volunteer, and then I found out there's an organization called Translation Commons. Well, its mission to break down the language barrier of translation and localization got me really excited because I had a bachelor's degree of translation from Hong Kong, and at my university, my study is really theory focused,
and we don't have a lot of resources about CAT tools or translation technologies. So I think TC would be really helpful for students and professors who don't have access to like these tools and knowledges. Yeah, that's how I joined TC. And after me and Zichi was onboarded, we found out there are a lot of things we can do about Translation Commons, like including building the network or managing the groups. But the problem is we don't have enough like we don't have enough hands to help us do it. So we decided our first priority is to recruit more volunteers in a more efficient way. Well, in that case, we took a look about our current process of recruiting and onboarding volunteers. So we used to have a volunteer page with a title and some descriptions, and also our contact email. So if you want to join Translation Commons as a volunteer, you need to first of all email this email address to state your interest and why you want to join TC. And then a community manager or Jeanette would send an email back to contact you to schedule with you a video meeting, and then you would discuss together about your own interest, and we can also verify your qualifications. And Jeanette will also introduce our missions and visions and also our needs. So if we think you are qualified and your skills match our needs, and then we would send another video conference request with you to get you onboarded. Which is basically introducing you how to use our internal tools and how to explore the user dashboard after you have signed in, and how to begin contributing to the initiatives. But we found this process quite it's not that efficient, and there is a lot of scheduling involved, and also we think the human work can actually, the manual work can actually be more simplified and be reduced from this process. So we initiated 2 projects. One is the volunteer framework project, another one is volunteer onboarding project. And Zichi is going to talk about the first one.
Hi, my name is Zichi. Probably some of you know me as Yana. I'm a senior TLM student who joined TC about a year ago through an IMAP event called at Lifting. And then I realized there might be a little chance to get myself connected with experienced experts in the field, so that's why I joined. On top of doing projects, as you can see probably from the guidance video, we also help TC to present at the Local World. I think it's a quite unique experience for the students like us to speak at the keynote speech in front of 500 people. So that's quite a valuable experience for me. Now I'm going to talk about our first large project, which is the volunteer framework project. But before I really get started, I want to explain a little bit about what this is all about. So imagine you just started your own nonprofit organization and you want to hire people and you have a lot of tasks to be completed. So what do you need to do? You want something that can tell others what your organization is about, what your missions are, and how they can join, and what are some things that they can do. So this project can be divided into 4 sub-projects or 4 steps. The initial step is to define our objectives, and this project is aimed at recruiting volunteers in a more efficient way that can match our own needs and can utilize our resources. What you see here is the process that we design and implement this project. So after defining the objects, we will move on to our website needs analysis, which means we need to figure out what are some tasks ahead of us and how we can break down those tasks, how we can group them under the same job title. And after that, we started our content creation for volunteer page, like what are some job titles that we can create for our organization? And what are some requirements for those jobs, like this? This is a job description for community managers, for example. And then we started the website design and the testing on web page. But from here, we started to use what we learned from our school, like GTP class and website localizing class, because our website is built on WordPress. So for designing the website, we first started a website page mockup using Photoshop. And this is our first version of the volunteer page. It's quite different from what you see right now. But you can see our basic idea is to design different job titles and positions under our 3 modules, which are translate, learn, and share. But after we sent it back to our team for discussion, we realized that this mockup page is not consistent in the color, font size, and style of our whole website. So we made a revision based on that and decided to employ the overall theme of our website. And now and the second version looks like this. It's still a little bit different from our final version, which I'm going to show you later. And after we finish the website design, our web developers create the final page, and then we conducted testing on that page, including functional testing and format testing, and review on the contents. So here's the list of all the deliverables of this website, of this project. First, let's take a look at our volunteer page. Okay, so in the top of this page is introduction on our website and what are some things that we're expecting from our volunteers and how you can utilize this page to become a volunteer for TC. Is the instruction. And if you scroll down, you can see we basically put our different positions into 3 big categories, like community positions. We have tools, program manager, tools, program associate, and community manager, and training manager, and so on. They work on building our community. And for development positions, this is more technical. If you're interested in website development, probably you can check out those positions. And we also have language positions under development. So this is the volunteer page. And on top of that, we also want to reward our volunteers. So we created the contributors page where you can find the list of volunteers' names like this on the page. So if you're a volunteer and you can log your contributing hours to our website and your names probably will show up here. And lastly, which is also important, is to design a volunteer form so that people can join us by filling out this form. You can take a look. You need to put into your email address, name, and location, profession, and so on. This may look simple to you, but actually it's quite complicated. So you have to think about how you can document information in a very efficient way. Maybe it can be used for future use, and you need to have a clear understanding of this organization's needs and its structure and its future goal of development. So next, my colleague Chen will talk about another project. Would be good.
Okay. For another project is the onboarding project, and for this one, we aim to introduce the volunteers our tools and our platform and guide the volunteers to keep record of their contributions, etc. So before we actually manually onboard the volunteer one by one, but sometimes it's just so difficult to schedule a video conference with them if they are located into a different time zone. So we think videos can be a great help. So this project is still ongoing, and we already made a onboarding video to introduce the volunteer to explore the dashboard. And we can show the video first, and then I'll explain how the process is.
Welcome to Translation Commons. This is a video guide to get you started. We'll show you how to access TC's resources on our website. Before using any resources on our website, the first thing you want to do is to sign in to your TC account. First, go to our website and click Sign In. You need to input the TC username and password. Your username can be found in the first email you received from TC after registration. Then, you'll be directed to the dashboard. You can edit and view your profile by clicking on My Profile. Here's what you can see in your profile. We highly suggest that you edit your profile to add more details, including profile picture, your profession and location, etc. In this way, other community members will be able to know you better. If you are a volunteer, don't forget to keep record of your contributions. You can click Volunteer Log in your dashboard and enter hours of contributions in this page. In the dashboard, you can also find a list of Google tools to help you with your communication and tasks. You need to activate the G Suite tools by clicking on the mouse icon. One of the most important ways to get yourself involved in Translation Commons is joining groups. To join a group from the dashboard, just click on Join a Group. And here's where you can find a list of working groups. Click on Discuss in Forums, and you will land in the page where you can share ideas and questions with other TC members. If you want to contribute to Translation Commons, please join us as a volunteer. You can browse our openings by clicking on the Volunteer button. Thank you for watching the introduction video. If you have any questions or just want to talk with us, please feel free to reach out.
So we began making this video by taking down or marking down all the steps that a volunteer needs to do to sign in, to edit their profiles, and also to keep record of their contributions, etc. So this is a spreadsheet we have been working on in order to create this video, and these are the steps we write in order to recreate the process of exploring the dashboard and to use our tools. And we also take screenshots for each step as a reference. So based on column A and column B, we write the video scripts, which are actually going to be recorded in the video. So after we have made this file, we forwarded them to our team, and we discussed with Jeanette and Gabby in terms of the content. So after some discussions and brainstorming, we decided to keep the video shorter and also to keep it less instructive. So we actually deleted some unnecessary information, such as like you can find your, such as here, like the parse marking gray and this part. We also decided to delete the second half of the video, which is introducing translation arm. That's our current structure, but in the future there might be some changes, so we decided not to include that in our video. And this is basically what I did for the onboarding project, and this project is still ongoing, and in the future we want to create more short videos and to instruct the volunteers. So besides the onboarding project and also framework project, emails and notifications are also an important part for us to interact with volunteers. So whenever a volunteer, for example, enters some hours of contribution or make some donation or change their password, there will be two types of information sent to them. One is the on-screen notification that is showing on the web page to confirm the request or confirm their action, for example. And another type of information is emails. So we have email templates and notification templates stored in the forms section of WordPress.
So we extracted those content from WordPress and paste them in a Google Doc so we can collaborate on it and edit the templates to make sure they're consistent. This is the emails and messages we're working on. So when editing these messages, we need to keep in mind that the email signatures needs to be consistent. For example, sincerely, next word president, for emails like this, we need to use the same signature. And also whenever a volunteer, someone donates to us or contributed to Translation Commons, we need to thank them on behalf of Translation Commons. We need to express our appreciation as a team. And we also keep in mind to evangelize our missions and visions in the email bodies. For example, here. Yeah. And the email also needs to be updated very constantly because there must be some content change or structure change in your organization and you want that to be expressed in your email. And in the next part, Jeanette is going to talk about what are the expectations of our organization in the next step.
And what are some activities that will mean to everyone?
Well, thank you very much. I have to say, I have worked with Zichi and Chang for the last year. And sometimes it would be that we meet weekly, sometimes every few days, emails, but we work very, very closely. And looking at all the work that has happened and remembering back January 2018 when we started to today, they have a complete grasp of the Translation Commons website, but of any website and what needs to be done for certain websites to communicate with your users. So this experience for me that they have gained is invaluable for the next steps of their careers. But as a person, I am so extremely proud to see the leaps and bounds they've done in this last year. So moving forward, we try to always have a roadmap, and you can find the roadmap on the first page, the home page, before you sign in. And of course, we update it every few months. But again, we try to work on all three categories and modules: translate, share, and learn. So we always want to have some new tools for the translate. Already there's a lot more. Just from a week ago that we recorded the demo, there's more tools already under translate. Under the share, we're working very close to create the community managers framework right now. We want to get quite a lot more member-generated groups going. And of course, in the Learn, we're moving all the training kits from Ecolo into the Learning Center. And already we have the University of Brussels doing actually that, one of the Ecolo training kits. So moving forward, how you can help. So we have a list of things that you could do, whether it's website development, as you have seen, community managing a group, a specific group, resource management. If you remember in the demo, the Resources Hub, our concept and idea is that if we can get links to absolutely everything which is available on the internet and it's free, we want to have it all in the Resources Hub. So there's one place that keeps all those links and free information available. So we need people to tell us about these, to research them and to add them. And finally, language quality managers is the next big step you need to do. And we need a lot more professional translators because we have a lot of students who want to translate the website, and we have localization students that want to localize this. But what we're missing right now is those professional editors that are going to come and mentor. So I want to take a moment about mentoring. Everything we have built in the Translation Commons website is based on mentoring. And we've tried to introduce the concept in every single way of how we work. So in all the volunteer framework and in all the positions that you have seen, the backbone is always mentoring. There's one experienced person working with interns or associates or whatever you want to call it, students, so we always try to share that information. And we take it for granted that when you first come to volunteer, it isn't something you know how to do, but we're going to train you to do this, and then you're going to train others. So there is this continuity that we want to build up. So we have quite a few new projects that we want to work with. So until a few days ago, I didn't know that you have this class here at MIIS, which you created this company called Global Multilingual Services, and that organizations and nonprofits like Translation Commons can actually be your client. So once we understood that, we took what our needs are and we reframed them in order for you to be able to see them under the new light. Can you take Translation Commons as a project and work for a number? It's actually quite a few. So make a note. If there's anything you like at the end, we can talk about it or you can sign up for it. So the very first one, this is a big need for Translation Commons, but it's also something that people don't think much about. Just because we all have Gmails, we think we know how to use G Suite, but we don't. There's a lot more to learn, and there's about 60 apps in the full G Suite. And we want to have people who want to get into this, learn how to use this, and learn how to be administrators. Okay, so they will help us this way create the groups. They will help us support all the CRISTA emails. Let's not forget that the Translation Commons website is based on a Google single sign-on. So if there are ever sign-on problems, it's part of what we do. And they're all under the supervision and training of Gabriela Laszlo that you have heard before, and she's still online. She can talk to us more. You want to add something, Gabi, here?
No, I'm happy to take any questions or explain anything after Jeanette is done talking about all the upcoming projects and all the needs.
Okay, great. So let's move on to the next one. Another group is a very specific one. This is what started the conversation with Max, your professor. So our certification group wants to create this database. And we want to have a small group of people, of students, that can do the design, the specifications, and create the communication automation, and just the conceptualization of what this database should be. It is a bit technical, so we should be using WordPress and possibly other tools as well. So if yourselves or anybody else you know within this class or even outside the class want to work on this one, we have Jost, Zetche, and myself supervising this. Then we have the Resources Hub. This is where I was talking about the tools. In the Resources Hub, we have a lot of information coming from the internet. And we need people to either who know or can research on the internet for free tools, free listings, whatever is free, even courses, anything which is free. We pick up the link and we add it. We have to be creative. Sometimes our categories are not precisely catering for this new item to come in. We create a new category. So that's a very important aspect of Translation Commons, organizing that material. The next one, not last, is WordPress admins. I know you get taught a lot of WordPress here. We need both short-term and long-term WordPress administrators where they can do the small things that need to be done in response to requests, but also in response to changes, because as we know, things change. And now that we have a board of directors and we're actually starting to have some strategic backbone to everything we do, we are expecting to do an overhaul of our website over the next year. We need content producers, and not so much content producers for, big things, articles and stuff like that, but for blogs, newsletters. The most important thing, and I think that we're not the only organization that has this problem, is that we need to have a centralized way of gathering news from all the groups and all the different teams. And if we can nail this, where we have a centralized spot on the website where people get educated after, we chase them time after time, and they learn eventually to post their news there, then this team will be responsible for taking that piece of news and then distributing it to the various social media or channels that we have for notification for all the other people. Then again, the information producers, is that the same with the previous one? That's for the tools, yes. Maybe we have doubled here, but nonetheless, all these projects are here and I will have them on for you to take a look. Next one is the community managers for groups. The groups come from many different situations. Mostly it's one or two people have a great idea and they come to us and says, this is a really good idea for a group. But of course, I can't do this by myself. And we say, fine, we're gonna create a group and start attracting volunteers. And true enough, most of the times, there is quite a few volunteers in the groups. But unless we have a cohesive way of these people working together, then they're just not gonna, the passion will just, fade away after a few days. So we need the community managers to be able to gather everybody together and maintain the interest of the group and document and help them be a little bit more precise. So it's not all about talk. What is our deliverable? Prompt them to create the objectives and the deliverables of the group. The more deliverables there are, the more satisfaction there is, and then the more continuity to the group. And the next one is video production. As you've seen a couple of the videos that we have created recently, the onboarding video was just one example of the many little videos that we need to create. Whether they're going to be 30 seconds videos or 1 minute videos, like the onboarding, we need to have information of how to upload your profile picture. It's very simple, and most of the times, everybody will do it right, but there's those few people that will forget to do the last click or the last update. If they see it, if it's available in help and it's 30 seconds, that's going to help them overcome the problem instead of sending an email to Krista and support. And then the same way, how to do volunteer hours, how to do this, how to do the small things that can help them. So this team is going to be under the supervision and training of Chang and Zichi, because they have done a great job and they have learned from us. So now it's their time to train more people. And basically, it's important for us to have a good framework so we can attract not just the students, but the experts as well. And the more students we have, the more experts are going to come in, and it works together, hand in hand. So we want to say to them, give back. We have the students, and here is your opportunity to help them and share what you have learned. So you can check the website anytime you want, get involved through that. Or if you want, we can talk about it a little bit now. Is there anybody here who has seen any projects that you would like to volunteer?
They all sound really interesting. It's kind of almost hard to decide between them. I'm like, oh, I really want to volunteer. I just don't know which one.
Okay, so do you want me to go back one by one and talk about them? And do you have any questions for any of them?
Any questions? I guess I was curious about the WordPress administration, what sort of things that would involve.
Okay, so mostly here, as you can see, to the confirmed supervisor, most of us know WordPress enough, but we're not experts. We're not front-end developers. We have a couple of people, engineers. It's a company called Pronzit. They're in Spain. They have built the basics of our website. From that moment onwards, the little changes, a few of us have been doing, including Wei Wu, who is also a classmate of yours. So she's been helping a lot. And I know that a lot of you know a little bit WordPress. That's probably enough. The idea is that we need to get an expert who can then help us a little bit more because the intention you have is not just to do what you already know, but to learn a bit more.
Absolutely.
And we're looking for that expert. So in the meantime, we're exploring it. So I'm learning WordPress every day because every time we need to do something, I have to look up how to do it along with Wei. And if anybody else wants to join the small team of admins we have, that'd be great because, we all share what we don't know.
Right. Yeah, no, that sounds really interesting. I definitely wouldn't call myself an expert, but I'm really interested in learning more. I have like definitely a baseline to intermediate understanding currently, but yeah, I'd love to sort of dig deeper into that.
Perfect.
I think we're gonna update our website very frequently as more volunteers are joining us, and we
Right,
have more
right.
projects and more groups and
Yes.
tools.
Yes, and we're also trying to make the updating a little bit easier. So a lot of the pages will lead us to a Google G Suite site, which is also public. And those sites are very easy to edit by the people that have created them from the groups. So we don't need to go to those groups and help them. We just need to stick to the WordPress. Because changes happen all the time, additions and everything. So we're trying to find ways of people being able to do their own additions and changes without having everything to come through the small team of the WordPress admins.
Right.
If we do volunteer jobs, is it online or on site? And how much time per week do we need to be volunteer?
Okay, so if it is part of your course, the Globe's multilingual services, it's whatever, the course tells you. If it is directly with Translation Commons, a lot of the sites and positions that we have put there, we have actually worked very hard to estimate what the time requirement is. Most of them are anywhere from 5 to 15 hours per month. Most of them. So you could get a position for 5 hours a month, which is roughly one a week, or 15 hours, which is roughly, 2 or 3 hours a week. We try to keep it low because we know everybody's busy, but at the same time, we want to make sure that whoever volunteers understands that there is a team, there are regular meetings, and from one meeting to the other, each person needs to produce something and bring it to the next meeting. So we're not just meeting for the sake of meeting. We're meeting to update each other.
I have a question about the technical
The G Suite thing?
volunteers. Yeah,
The G Suite? Let me turn
I'm
that.
also interested in that.
yeah. Do we need to at least be G Suite savvy?
Okay, so I'll ask Gabby. Gabby, the
I
question.
couldn't hear the question very clearly, so if you could repeat the question. I heard it was about G Suite, but I didn't hear the details.
She was asking whether the candidate has to be G Suite savvy.
Certified?
No, it's just like, do we have any requirements to apply for this?
It's not necessary to be certified. It helps if you're savvy. It helps even more if you're interested.
Okay, yeah.
So no, you don't have to have a specific level of understanding before applying. The idea would be that if you know how to use G Suite in general, you're gonna learn easily to do the rest.
Because Gabby will train you.
How big is this team? Is now? Like for the G Suite?
At the moment, it's Gabby and myself.
Okay.
Right, Gabby?
Yes, but we're more than happy to train anybody who's interested. As I said, the key thing is your interest, and it's all learnable. So
This was one
we're
of
happy to train anybody.
Yes, thanks, Gabby. This was one of the projects and teams that we decided to put after we found out about Globe Multilingual Services and the technical side of this class. So we thought, oh, hold on a second, it's the G Suite technical stuff as well. So if there are any students that are interested, this is a good, so this is brand new. We just, I don't think you will find it on the website yet, in the
No, not yet.
positions, yeah. But if you wanna join in, you're in.
Okay.
We have a sign-up sheet here.
Yeah.
After that, I can put your name, I think, there.
And what was the project that was going to be supervised by you? And then I think it was Yost who wrote the
That
translators.
is the creation of a database. So that's the next one, certification database.
Right.
So the certification group is the group that is creating the research for all the certifications globally. And on the other hand, creating a database, which we need to design the fields, we need to design the specifications. Very important is how do we guarantee that the person who says is certified by this institution is truly certified. So there are quite a few easy ways of doing this.
Mhm.
Can you elaborate more on that? How can you do that? Do you have-
By connecting with the certification body themselves internally. So that we would have to be connected with the certifying body. So let's say that we have 15 certifying bodies around the world, and we contact all 15 and we say, we have a database of people, and we want to make sure that the person that is going to say that they are certified is truly certified with you. So we create an API with this body, and then the databases have to match. So whatever this person says that they have, it has to match. If it doesn't match, then our database is not going to allow this person to register.
And those organizations can be anything from universities, from.
We will have, yeah, that's part of the other group, the research group. We need, there's two groups. So the research group is going to find all the bodies, and then the database technical group is going to create the database and all the specifications in the fields.
So do you use any specific software to create the database, or is it spreadsheet or?
No, it would be either WordPress or any other database. That I don't think you guys know SQL, but it has to be free. We only work with free open source. And it would have to be created in such a way that it can be supported by WordPress, our website, and possibly G Suite. But not Excel sheet. We're talking about automation. Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah.
Spreadsheet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can we get a PowerPoint?
This PowerPoints, yeah. Actually, I will have it on the website as well. If you want, you can also give me your email and I can send it, or, Zichi or Chang, whoever, will send it to you, but it's going to be available on the website.
Maybe you can post it on Zoho. We have a platform for job hunt in our campus.
Yeah? Can you do that? Okay, perfect, yes, yes. And other presentations you can find, if you go to the Translation Commons website, scroll all the way down to the bottom bar, and if you check our story, we're just now starting to put links to the presentation, so it's still work in order, work in progress. You will find those links, but not necessarily, it's not beautified yet, but we're just putting as many links as we can, and we're going along to beautifying it. So you'll find other ones. So the most important thing, guys, is you need to register. Okay, first thing you do, you register. And when you register, you have a username, which is the first part of your TC email. So it's your username at translationcommons.org. Once you register, you get an email from Krista. And she's asking you one more thing to do, sign in and activate your Gmail. Okay? So once you hit mail, once you sign in and you click mail, then just follow the prompts, which then activate your mail, and by doing that, you activate your entire G Suite. So from your mail, you can get quiz quickly to all of it. One a word of advice, because most schools use G Suite or Gmail, and you probably have your own Gmails as well. In the beginning, your browser will remember all the other Gmails before the Translation Commons. So in the beginning, either use an incognito window or just add your multiple accounts into the one and then be able to switch from one account to the other. Eventually, the ones you're using is going to be a lot more. And finally, if you are not going to be using your Translation Commons email regularly and checking it, then definitely go into the settings and forward it. Okay, because if you do apply, for example, as a volunteer, we're going to email you at your TC email. And if you're not checking it, you're never going to see that we actually answered you. So either forward or make sure you check your email.
Can I just make a quick comment? I was just going to add to that, that all of the group activities, all of the communication, everything that's interactive happens on the G Suite tools. So the TC email and the TC calendar, Google Drive within the TC environment. So that's why Jeanette was emphasizing the importance of being able to access it and being able to get the emails that you are sent to your TC email so that you're aware of what the group is working on, how things are moving along, meetings that you need to attend to. That's all I wanted to add.
Okay, guys? Any more questions? Okay, so have you decided where you're volunteering? Okay, so we'll call it a day then. You have our emails, my card is here, there's some forms you can sign on, and you can always talk to Zichi and Chang, and we can answer more questions if you need to.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for coming.